I'm here with Jerry Boudreaux at the Pasquinel Division, and Jerry, we just want to ask you about your $1 million curve here and what inspired you to build this.
The $1 million curve behind us here is 96-inch radius curve. It spins off of a center point in the middle of a peninsula. So what I have is I've got the center point, and then I have a double track main, 36 and 38.25-inch radius. Then I go to the old main, and then I take 48 inches for my aisleway. I take about 4 inches for scenery between the track and the fascia, and that ends up being 96-inch radius curve right here. We call it $1 million curve because Jeff Million has a curve like this on his layout in West Salem. And also Lee Nicholas has a great big curve like this on his layout in Corinne, Utah. I operated on both those layouts, and I find them to be really exceptional to watch trains go around 96-inch radius curves. Plus, these are super elevated by 40 thousandths. So my big long passenger trains lean into the curve and look very realistic.
All right, and then we also wondered about you have an unusual way of building your bridges here. We noticed you use the subroad bed as the bridge, and this is kind of the in-progress version. But we wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll take a look at some of them that are done.
Oh, sure. I'd be glad to. Let's take a look at this bridge right here.
Okay.
This is $1 million curve where the plywood just comes right across. It's 3/4 inch plywood. Okay. And it runs right on through this bridge. So there's no break in grade here or here. And then what I can do is temporarily, I just painted it black. But what I do is I laminate a micro-engineering or Central Valley bridge girder onto this. On this side, I paint the bottom black, and then I've got this very nice transition through that curve. So I can lay my track right away. I don't have to wait to build the super detailed bridge.
Oh, right, yeah.
So these are like instant bridges that you can retrofit.
Okay, so here's one that's all done, so we'll take a look at how we did this.
The last time we talked about the temporary bridges, all we used was plywood that was painted black. On this bridge, you'll see that there's been a girder laminated to it. So Central Valley, Microengineering, and so on, they make these bridge kits from which you can take the girder, do a little black spray paint on it, add some pieces in here or take some pieces out, quite easy to do, and then you can make it the length that you need to make it. And when I make the bridges, I put the abutments in first. I build the scenery up to that, but this piece is not there. These are the pieces that support the bridge on those shoes. So once I laminate the girder onto the plywood, then I can cut my half-inch MDF, scribe it with 40 grit sandpaper, and I just put it right up to the bridge so everything fits really nicely. You'll see, in fact, in this bridge that the scenery has not been blended into the abutment yet. That's still to come. Okay. But it makes a presentable bridge for operations. We've been operating over these bridges for quite a while, just like they are.
So Jerry, your engineering is really well thought out on that. You said you had something removable on the bigger trestles too. Can you show us how you did that?
Those bigger trestles, we ran across this trestle here for 3 years, and it was just over air. There was no scenery underneath it, and there were no bridges, no trestle towers under it. So the way this works is that the temporary bridge allows you to get operating right away. Then what I did is I took Central Valley and Microengineering components and built the girder, and then I built the towers. These are just Microengineering tall towers. Okay. And then I fit these footings in here first, and I use like a slanted block that gives me infinite adjustability, because it's very difficult to take this dimension and get it precise. So I put the slanted block under the footing, then I can raise that footing up and down to get this to match right up there. And And that also allows me to be able to remove all of this to put the scenery in behind that. And we'll go to a smaller trestle. This one is like about 5 feet long, and it's pretty difficult to take out and put back together in the time we have.
Right.
But the Little Spring Canyon Bridge, that we can do that there.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so can we see how you take this one apart?
Sure, I can show you that. So this is Little Spring Canyon, microengineering components, just like the last one we looked at. So the idea here is that we get the abutments in here, we get the towers measured just right so they match, and then we need to be able to take this out so we can put the scenery in after that. So here's how it comes out. We take out one tower and just lifts out like this. You can see it has differential legs on it and matches these footings going up and down here.
Sure.
We can put this right here. And we take the second tower out the same way, just slides out straight, just like this. And that goes right over here. And then the girder itself slides right off the abutments, complete with the Santa Fe bridge art.
Yeah.
And that goes right over here. And then I have some rail joiners here and here, slide those back, and the track lifts out, and then you can see where you can build this scenery in. So when these footings are in here at the precise level with the little slider blocks that I work, then I build the rocks up to the footing. That's why they match so well right in here. And it's the same way with the abutments and so on. These abutments and these footings are in first, then the scenery is blended right into them.
Okay.
And by taking the bridge out, I can work in there and do the color and so on, and then just put it back together.
Yeah, that's clever.
It works out really well.
Great. So then once you're done working on cleaning or doing scenery, do you just put it back in the reverse order?
Yes, that's actually exactly what we do. So the reverse order would be first I put in the track section, which we didn't take out in terms of time.
Right.
Then the second thing is I take this bridge girder, which is just microengineering components, and I set it on the abutment here, and I set it on the abutment here. I raise the track up just a tad. You only need a little bit. Then I center it under there. So now we have a girder there. We take tower number 2 and we slide that under here, hoping that Murphy's Law is not at work. So it's on the abutments, and we center it on the girder. Okay. Now we take the next tower, and we put that on top of the abutments and under the girder. And we're back in business after we've done our scenery.
Yeah, that's easy. Looks good.
That's how it works.
And you'd never know.
Well, most people don't know, but I highly recommend this because trying to work around these girders and carve this kind of rock would be extremely difficult. And a lot of people get to this point and they stop the track construction, which means they don't operate for a while. And my idea was to go shooting right across here, and then it was like 2 years before I got around to putting the bridges and the scenery in.
Okay.
So it gets you up and running much quicker.
Yeah. So before you put it together, you must have had sub-road bed in there temporarily.
That is correct. And by taking the sub-road bed and running it right on up here, you see this breaks every model railroading law in the world, because right on this bridge is actually a vertical transition. So my plywood came up and it tipped over and it went horizontally. So I just put the plywood across here, I let it find its own place. And then when I got ready to do the bridge, I made a rubbing of the rails so I knew exactly where the rails went on paper. I was able then to construct the abutments on both sides, and then I was able to construct this girder exactly to the rubbing, to the specifications with direct transfer. Then I went in here with a little saw and I cut right straight up on the plywood on this end, also on that end, took out the temporary bridge, put the girder right in, and I was down. I couldn't operate maybe for like 2 hours.
Wow.
And the rest of the time we could run across that.
That's great.
And then so for quite a while we ran just simply across the girder. And then after that I built the towers and put in the scenery like we talked about.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Jerry, for having us on the Pasquinel Division. It's great to see what you've done, and of course you were a teacher, so thanks for sharing your knowledge.
I really appreciate you guys coming over here because what you're doing is you're allowing this layout, which is made for operation, but it's also a demonstration layout. And it allows your videos and so on, your magazine, allows these technologies to be shared to a much wider audience. There's nothing really magic about these technologies, and there's nothing really original about what's gone on here. 3/4 inch plywood, L girders, stringers, and so on and so forth. And I've had many people come through the layout with taking many digital pictures, and it's always great to help them learn that it's really not that hard. And so you guys are just helping with that, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.